front to back. I can listen to this over and 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 over again. I love this album. I can't stress that enough. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to welcome back, guys. Welcome back to a new video. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm NickGFast. This is part 6 of my hip hop collection. We'll just jump right into it. The first one on my list is 2014 Forest Hills Drive Live. I saw this one on accident. I was on Pop Market and they had this one for sale. When I got it, the packaging it came in was all dented and beat up. And so there's kind of a crease on one side, but gatefold. And it's on this red and black vinyl. It also came with this poster. It's not a real signature, it's just on the poster. I was a little disappointed when I got it because they marketed it as signed poster by J. Cole. The next one I have is J. Cole, KOD. This is a gatefold. I believe this one is just a black pressing. I didn't get the special edition one. Yeah, just black pressing. And I know that they have an alternate version, like an alternate cover, which would be really cool to get, but I don't have that one. This definitely wasn't my favorite J. Cole album, but I thought it was better than For Your Eyes Only. Speaking of For Your Eyes Only, that's the next one on the list. This is also a gatefold. I love the finish on these. It's like matte around the edges and it's got that like shiny material throughout. This one's just on black vinyl. I honestly did not care for this album. Maybe I should give it another listen. It just didn't hit the same after the 2014 Forest Hills Drive. And the next one I have is the original 2014 Forest Hills Drive. It's got the hype sticker. I kept the shrink wrap on this one. The inner sleeves with the liner notes. It's just on black vinyl. It's got that brick center there. This was definitely my favorite album during that time. There's debates on whether or not this is a classic yet, and people say it needs 5 years, people say it needs 10 years before you can consider something a classic. But I consider a classic something when you can listen to it front to back with no skips. And I think that this is one of those. Even the last song where it's like a credits. No skips on this album. I think by far this is his best work, his best album out as of right now. Moving on to Joey Badass, All-American Badass. This is a great album. I wouldn't say it's as good as his debut album, but it's great nonetheless. Gatefold. Pretty sure it's just on black vinyl. Inner sleeves. When this album came out, I think I listened to Rockabye Baby constantly. This next one I think is one of the best like first album debut album out there. Like if you think of everyone's debut album like Illmatic and Get Rich or Die Trying, I think this one should be up there on that list. Joey Badass, Badass. This album really gives you that 90s feel through and through for this whole album. It's been a while since I've listened to this album. I just remember the feeling it gave me that year it came out, and I would listen to this all the time. I mean, Paper Trails, Black Beatles, Curry Chicken, and this has 2 bonus tracks on it. Run Up On Ya, Teach Me. He hasn't put out that much music when you think of it overall, but he's got 2 albums and a couple mixtapes, and so I'm really hoping in 2021 we get a new Joey Badass album. And the next one, they finally pressed this, I want to say it was a couple years ago now. So an official pressing of Joey Badass 1999, which is you know, a classic mixtape. It's just on black vinyl, 1999. I think Joey Badass was one of the first rappers to get a official release for one of his mixtapes. I think putting out old mixtapes will become more of a norm in the next 5 years. The only problem with that is if it's some song they can't clearance, they either just take that whole song off of the mixtape, or, you know, they change the beat, which I'm pretty sure they changed one of the beats in Wiz Khalifa mixtape that they just put out, I think on Spotify. I don't know if it was Cabin Fever or maybe it was the Cushion OJ one, but it just doesn't play the same when you change up one of the songs. And then when they officially put out Kids, they took that whole song off that, you know, he got sued over by whatever. Moving on, the next one on the list, we got Lil Jon in the East Side Boys. This was a Record Store Day release. It was on sale. I didn't pick it up on Record Store Day, but I saw it in one of my record stores, and they had it on sale, so I decided to pick it up. It's on a gray, like silver, maybe it's supposed to be platinum vinyl. Anyone knows who grew up in that era that crunk music was just, it was everywhere. I mean, you couldn't go to a school dance without hearing Lil Jon or Yin Yang Twins. Yeah! Like Get Low is on this album. Rep Your City's on this album with P.D. Pablo. Say what you will about Lil Jon, but he made some great songs during that time. This next one I'm not a huge fan of, but someone on Facebook was selling it for like $5, and so I picked up this Jurassic 5 album. It's a gatefold. As I said, I'm not a huge Jurassic 5 fan. I honestly can't name a song off of this album that I truly know. I'm not going to try to pretend like I know all their music. It's in kind of rough shape. The cover isn't the best, but the records play, and sometimes that's all that matters. For a couple years, I don't know like 2016 or something, I went on this J Dilla kick, and they were putting out a lot of J Dilla stuff at that time. I think a couple Record Store Days back to back, they had different J Dilla releases. And so I picked up this Dillatronic, and it's like 3 albums. I keep them together, and they're on all sorts of different. There's like a lime green color, and that's one. There's like a Christmas, like an evergreen green color. And then we have just a clear album. And these were just, I believe these were just beats, like unreleased beats at the time. I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that this was, I want to say it was like a Record Store Day exclusive. But let me look real quick. Let me just look real quick. Okay, so I looked it up. It's 40 instrumentals that were unreleased, and it was released in 2015. And so I was on a J Dilla kick in around like 2016, and I saw this in one of my record stores, and I picked it up. I think I've only listened to the first album, to be honest with you, but I've got, it also came with this J Dilla poster, Dillatronic. So I keep that with the album. And then I also happen to find this Diary of J Dilla. And I haven't opened this one yet. I just haven't had time to listen to it. During this time, I also bought like a box set of J Dilla. Big box set that looks like an MPC that he used to use. It's really cool. It came with like a cassette tape, some records, and a floppy drive. So if anyone has a floppy drive, I'd love to hear what's on that. Definitely gonna have to listen to these more often. In 2021, I need to find more time to listen to my collection more often. I have a habit of just buying records and then getting busy, and then they get shuffled back into the collection without me even listening to it. I have like a spot on my record shelf that is only for unlistened records. And then I moved, and so then when I moved, I put all the records, even the unlistened ones, into the collection, and so I didn't get to listen to a lot of them. So I need to go back and start listening to more of the records I know I didn't listen to. So moving on, we're getting into the Jay-Z section of my collection. We got Jay-Z, the Black Album, which is supposed to be his retirement album, but as we all know, he didn't retire. This is a gatefold as well. It's just on a black vinyl, black label. But this album has some of my favorite Jay-Z songs on it. I mean, 99 Problems, I think everyone knows that song. I mean, Kid Cudi, you know, paid homage to it, or whatever you want to call it. I got 99 problems and they all bitches. Wish I was Jigga Man. Carefree Living. Encore, which, you know, he later did a mashup with Linkin Park. This is a great album. To me, it's one of his best albums because it's one of the albums that I personally grew up with. So the next one we have Jay-Z and Kanye West, Watch the Throne. This is one of my favorite albums in my collection. I don't really like listening to this one because they're picture discs and they don't sound that great. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but it like folds open 4 ways. Oh, it's kind of hard to show on camera. I need like 4 hands here. Help. Okay. Got Jay-Z over here. Kanye's face on this side. It's a really cool pressing, but it's kind of a pain to listen to because it opens up so ridiculously. But yeah, they're just picture discs. So here's Kanye's side. And then we have Jay-Z's side. This is by far one of my favorite albums of all time. Every track on this I love. I love the beats. I love the hooks. I love the music videos for this thing. I just wish that they would press a simple version of this that's not a bootleg. It doesn't even have to be a colored vinyl or anything, just black vinyl, just so I can listen to it easily without having to unfold this big hefty thing every single time. Why even pull it out if it's just on picture discs anyway, right? The next one we got is Jay-Z, Magna Carta, Holy Grail. I really liked this album when it came out. The CD is really kind of cool as well, because every page in the CD you can like scratch away and you can see the lyrics. I don't know if you can do that in this one. Holy Grail. Yeah, you can't do that in this one. This is a gatefold. I think this is a really great album all the way through. A lot of people would disagree, especially like the old heads, old hip hop heads. You know, they don't seem to like the newer, poppier stuff that these older rappers are doing. I just think it's a smart move on their part. You know, they're just trying to stay in the limelight and, you know, in the public eye. And I think it works for a lot of them. I mean, Kanye kind of fell off with it, but Jay-Z, I think, is one of the best older rappers that can put out an album and it's still good. Then I have this 12-inch single from the Nutty Professor, and it's Jay-Z, Hey Poppy, which I just think is funny. I mean, I think I found this at a thrift store. So this one's kind of an interesting one for the collection that I don't think a lot of people have. I mean, if you're big into Jay-Z, you might have found it, but I think it's pretty cool. I'm not a DJ or anything, but I have a good stack of some DJ records that I find. Starting with the only thing I have MF Doom in, and it's KMD, Black Bastards, and I think this was a exclusive press, and it like pops up. Whoa. Which is pretty cool. It's just on a black vinyl. If you don't know, this is some of MF Doom's like earlier stuff when he was in this group. So it's kind of cool to have. And I think the story of this was that they hadn't pressed this yet. It never officially came out. And so this is a repress. Now we're moving on to my Kendrick Lamar collection. We've got Good Kid, Mad City. Everyone has this album. Classic album. Just on black vinyl. A gatefold. Another one of those albums where, you know, first album to come out that was a big success. They call this his debut album, but I think Section 80 was technically his debut album. His label debut album is Good Kid, Mad City, which to me is a classic, and it was a classic right out of the gate. I love this album. Front to back, you don't need to skip a track on this thing. Next, we've got To Pimp a Butterfly. Another great album. I love the Tupac like surprise at the end of this album. Like, if you could go back to the first time listening to this for the first time, like, and finding out that it was Tupac he was talking to the whole time. Why have I never heard this Tupac interview before? Where has this been? I mean, I guess the story is some guy gave this interview to Kendrick Lamar, and the fact that he could make a whole album pretty much based around that interview is genius. And I think Kendrick Lamar is one of the top rappers in our generation, the Tupac of our generation, if you will. And I don't think there's a better rapper out right now that could even compete with Kendrick Lamar. Hood Politics is one of my favorite tracks on this album. Once that album came out, he put out the Untitled Unmastered, which was supposed to be like throwaway tracks from To Pimp a Butterfly. You see that signature right there? It's a pretty recognizable signature.
Randy Jackson from American Idol.
I ordered this from his site. It's just on black vinyl. Most of these are just on black vinyl. It's not really an album I listen to all the time, just because I feel like I have to be in a certain mood to listen to Untitled Unmastered. But it's a great album, and I'm happy to own it. Next one, we've got Kendrick Lamar, Damn. I picked this one up from his site as well, and I believe that this one, yep, is the red vinyl pressing of it, which matches really, you know, matches great with the album cover. And I think most people who listen to Kendrick Lamar have this album, or, you know, they own it in some way or form. I think every album he puts out gets better and better each time. So they say he's got an album coming out in 2021, and I'm so excited to hear what that one sounds like. He did put out a limited edition of Damn, but the track lists are in reverse.
We're gonna put it in reverse!
This is number 7046. So it looks pretty similar to Damn, but, you know, black and white. Track lists are backwards. A little bit of the songs are changed on the vinyl pressing, I think. There's a part where they reverse in Damn, the original one, but they don't have that in this, so you can't put it in reverse and hear what it says. And then the last Kendrick Lamar one I have is a bootleg, and I think a lot of people have this one. Section 80, which is my favorite Kendrick Lamar album of all time. When I heard this, I was just hooked instantly. I mean, Fuck Your Ethnicity, ADHD, the Ronald Reagan era. Like, this is such a great album. I think that it should have gotten more press when it came out. The biggest thing is people thought, you know, he had just got signed with like Dr. Dre, and he was working with Dr. Dre, and people thought, you know, it was gonna be a Dr. Dre album, but he wanted to prove himself and show that he could do it without Dr. Dre, which I think is just so cool. And it worked in his favor.
Everybody heard that I fuck with Dre. Anyone to tell me I made it, nigga, I ain't made shit. If he gave me a handout, I'ma take his wrist and break it, nigga.
Next on the list, we're going with Kanye West. We have Late Registration. This one and College Dropout are my favorite Kanye albums. I love My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but these ones just hold a different place and, you know, nostalgic for me. I really love some new pressings, like a 180 gram pressing of like College Dropout or Late Registration, because some of these earlier 2000 pressing records, they just suck. The quality is shitty, like the product is shitty. So I'd love to get a better version, but all the ones that I see are just, you know, copies of this version. But College Dropout, this is my favorite Kanye West album, hands down. There will never be another Kanye West like this Kanye West, and all of his new stuff does not compare to what this is. The production, the song lyrics, I mean, everything in this album. This is a classic album. When I think of a classic album, it's this one. Front to back, I can listen to this over and 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 over again. I love this album. I can't stress that enough. If you say My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is better than College Dropout, you probably were born in the late 90s. I'm sorry, but you can't compete with this. This is when Jay-Z and Kanye West were like, Kanye was his prodigy. Like, you don't understand what it was like then. It was just a different era. And that's not to say that those albums aren't good either, but I'll never understand how people can put College Dropout so low on their list of Kanye albums. So next, another Kanye album, Yay, a part of that release summer that he did with 7 tracks or whatever it was. 7 tracks on every album. He did one with Nas. He did one, you know, Kids See Ghost. This is a good album. Not his best work, I mean, by far. Nothing too special about this album. Next, we have a bootleg of The Life of Pablo. I really liked this album when it came out, but when he kept tweaking it and changing things, then it started kind of lose its likability to me. Like the new Ultralight Beam with like the added verse and stuff. I don't like that. I think they should just stick it out into the open with the original. And like Wolves, the one with Sia on it and Frank Ocean, that was really good. And then he kept changing it and it just got worse. But this is a bootleg. I bought it off of eBay. Still a great album. It's just one of the versions that he made. And then we do have My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. This was like when Nicki Minaj was introduced to the world, and she blew up after this. It's in my top 5 Kanye albums, but not number 1. I do love this album though. This is just on black vinyl. This also opens up 4 ways, kind of like that Kanye West Jay-Z album, Watch the Throne. And the next one on my list, another Kanye album, 808s and Heartbreak. Came with a CD right there in the middle. I do love this era of Kanye. He was kind of like the sad version Kanye. I do like that. The experimental side of this album I really love. I actually found this at a pawn store. I think they sold this to me for $5. Next on the list, we've got Kids See Ghost with Kid Cudi and Kanye West. It's just on black vinyl. Out of all of his albums that he put out that summer that had, you know, the 7 songs on it, this was by far the best out of those. How many did he play? What, Pusha T, Kanye, Nas. I think he made 4 or 5 of those of his 7 song, or did he make 7? I don't remember. I can't. But this whole thing, Reborn is one of my favorite songs on this album. I didn't pick up the Record Store Day exclusive that had the that cool colorway of this, which would be really cool, but I already had this and I didn't think I needed 2 copies of it. The next thing I have here is King Spade, which is D-Loc and Johnny Richter from Cottonmouth Kings. This is like a 15th year anniversary edition of this album. King Spade is just a group that they made, the two of them, kind of when Cottonmouth Kings were on a hiatus. If you're a Cottonmouth King fan, you know about them. If not, Cottonmouth Kings is, you know, stoner rap music from Southern California. Most or all of their songs are about weed, and this one doesn't really, you know, stray away from that method. If you're into that kind of music, I don't see a lot of like vinyl Instagram pages that really collect any Cottonmouth Kings albums. They've got a couple records, but not that many. I have most of the Cottonmouth King CDs, but I don't really have any of their records besides this one. Moving on, we're going to Kevin Gates. When this album came out, I bought the CD. I ended up loving this CD, and when it came out on record, I picked it up right away. This is a Record Store Day exclusive one. So this is on a like silver. Is this silver? I can't tell. It's like a silver. It looks gold in my camera. It's like a silver color. Silver and gold? I don't really know what color this is. This is a gatefold. If you haven't really listened to Kevin Gates, I would say give this album a chance. And I mean, it's the album that got me into him, and maybe you'll get into it as well. I don't know. Next on the list is Kid Cudi, Indicud. One of my favorite Kid Cudi albums, you know, since Man on the Moon 1 and 2. Like, he's had some like experimental albums, but this one really just really hit it on the head, I think. But he's got songs, you know, with King Chip on here, who's also from Ohio. King Wizard, Immortal is a great song. Solo Dolo Part 2 with Kendrick Lamar is on here. It took me a while to actually find this album because I don't think they pressed it right away. It seems like Kid Cudi vinyl seems to be getting more expensive lately too. Like, I'd love to have Wizard, but there's no way I can afford that copy on vinyl at least. Next we've got Satellite Flight, which was also a Record Store Day exclusive. This is a good album as well. I don't think many people really know about this album or listen to this album that much because he never put out like a physical form of it until Record Store Day, so it's more of a digital release, but it's a great album. I remember standing in line to get this on Record Store Day, and it was the only thing I wanted that day. I think I got this and maybe like a Run the Jewels single that day. Kid Cudi, Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying. But he's got a song on here with Andre 3000, which is, I feel like that's pretty rare to get a song with Andre 3000. Like, I think you have to be friends with him to actually get a verse from him. Rose Golden on this with Willow Smith is a really good song. I haven't listened to this one. I mean, if you're a Kid Cudi fan, I'm sure you've already heard it, but I know there's a couple people on my Instagram that don't really care for Kid Cudi, so definitely check this album out. Don't check out that rock album. Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon 2, right after Man on the Moon 1. Like, I don't think it was that long after. And he had a song on here with Cage, which was Maniac. That's the song he has with Cage. It's really good. I think they put a video out for it too. Ghost. Ghost is such a good song on this. And the last one in my K category here, I'm sure you've already guessed it, Man on the Moon Part 1, Kid Cudi. This is the album that really put him on the map, you know, signed to Good Music. I think everyone knows this album. Solo Dolo, Day and Night was like the big hit off of this. Pursuit of Happiness, and then they remixed it, and then that remix got so much play. Pursuit of Happiness, well, maybe Pursuit of Happiness. At the time, Day and Night was like the single off of this album, and then Pursuit of Happiness blew up like 2 years later, I think, because they remixed it for a movie, and that movie, I think it was Project X. Yeah. One of my favorite Kid Cudi albums. a lot of people's favorite Kid Cudi album, I'm sure. Really nostalgic for me. That's my hip hop collection, J through K. Gonna be a longer video, so if you stuck through this, thank you, and I appreciate it. Leave me a comment to let me know you guys got all the way through this video, because I'd love to know who watched this whole thing. If you guys want to like this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Comment something. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I'll link all that in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. This is gonna be the longest fucking video I've ever made.